Hello YouTube, I'm Dave, and I'm here to talk at the moment anyway about Jehovah's Witnesses. I thought very long and hard about whether or not to do these videos. There's lots of reasons to and lots of reasons not to, and I've decided in the end I think it's something I should do. I'm not the sort of person who even likes to be on camera, to be fair. Definitely not looking for attention or followers or anything like that. Discussion is the main thing I would say that I'm looking for. There's a lot wrong with this particular subject with Jehovah's Witnesses. So much so, to be honest with you, that I don't even know where to begin. Probably best just to give you a quick rundown of who I am, I suppose. I was born into the Jehovah's Witnesses, third generation. My mother was a witness, and her mother before her was a witness. Father was never interested. My parents actually divorced when I was young. My mother remarried. The chap she remarried to joined the truth with her. Like many, I mean, I was pretty much young, naive. I knew no different. I did pretty much as I was told. Believed pretty much as I was told, like most children do. And to be fair, look around the world today, like most adults do. Yeah, I totally believed everything about them. I thought I had the true religion. I didn't question a great deal at all, at least not until I was older. I wouldn't say I was strong in the truth as a child, well, at all. I did believe it. So that, you know, but when I say I wasn't strong, I didn't do an awful lot of door knocking, probably 4 or 5 hours a month. Isn't it sad that's how that's the standard I'm going to sort of decide whether or not I was strong. But that's the mindset that they put in you. If you aren't doing many hours, you're not strong. I mean, at one point, I think it was 11, maybe 12 actually, and they pulled me into the elders. They pulled me into the back room at Kingdom Hall, and they wanted to talk to me about the amount of hours each month I was doing on the ministry. Wasn't a great deal. I think the most I ever did my whole life was about 8, 9, something like that. But what they were doing was, first of all, they asked me how I felt about doing the ministry. Well, in truth, I wasn't actually that happy. It wasn't so much the door knocking itself that didn't bother me. It was, I grew up in a bit of a rough neighbourhood, to put it bluntly, and you could be in a fight with someone on a Friday and knock on their door on a Saturday, and it caused a lot of problems. And I don't mean that I spent a lot of time fighting, because I didn't. But what I mean is, you know, kids will be kids. It was a very poor area, you know, and there were certain places that for the average person, knowing that say 3 or 4 people you didn't really get on with as a child lived in one street, you wouldn't go and play there as a child, but then as a witness you'd be required to go and knock on there. So no, I didn't enjoy doing the ministry in the immediate territory for our congregation. It was very troublesome, but I did it. I mean, not a huge amount, but I did it. And I remember them specifically. They mentioned a sister's name, which I'm obviously not going to mention online, but the sister in question is such a lovely girl. And I remember them saying to me, this sister, you know, sister such and such, she always does it 11, 12 sort of hours a month. And we noticed you're not getting anywhere near that, and we were wondering, is there a reason why? Is there anything we can do to help you? I thought that was quite insulting, to be honest with you, to be compared to a younger sister directly, you know, as opposed to say something along the lines of, you know, the average amount of hours for youngsters under the age of 13 can be such and such. I think to actually compare to another sister is, or to another brother for that fact, it's not due to that it was a sister, but to compare to another member of the congregation specifically, I mean, not only are they revealing to me the amount of hours that person's doing, which has nothing to do with me, absolutely nothing to do with me whatsoever, but you know, they're then saying, well, you're falling short of that. Didn't ring right with me, and the sort of spirit in which it was presented, and the attitude of the whole meeting and people involved with the meeting wasn't great. But you know, you take it on the chin as you do, and I did a little bit more. I mean, not a huge amount, but I did a little bit more. I'd say that the main thing I took away from that meeting was that I made more of an effort to be better on the ministry, as opposed to do more hours. I tried to just get through a bit more. I tried to place more literature. So a few years went on, and that stayed, you know, pretty much the same. And well, not a few years, but time went on, and I started to, you know, obviously mature a little bit, and the pressure to get baptised then came. And cut a long story short, I loved the witnesses at the time, loved God, so I thought, yeah, go on then. And I got baptised at age 13. It didn't feel special. There was no coming out the water and feeling like the Holy Spirit had come onto me or anything like that. It didn't feel special. And I remember thinking that at the time. But you know, you don't have a massive amount of time immediately after baptism to think about what's going on. I was baptised at a open air district convention in a football stadium. After the baptism itself, I mean, the rest of the day, just everybody you know is coming over and hugging you and congratulating you, and then the next sort of couple of days or weeks after that, it's your local congregation congratulating you, and it sort of slowly goes back to normal. So at the time, I do remember being taken back that this doesn't feel like the magnificent experience I'm told it is, but I sort of got distracted as I didn't think about it that much at the time. So I carried on in the truth, and I started getting, you know, talks coming my way. Because I was never strong, I never got to the point of doing sound boxes or microphone carrying or anything like that, really, to be honest with you. But I did start to have a few more questions about the deeper things, such as the faithful and discreet slave. I just couldn't get my head around it at the time. But as you do, as they tell you to do, you sort of wait on Jehovah. So I just carried on with my life as normal. Young lad going to school, exams coming up, trying to focus on the witnesses, trying not to get in trouble by being distracted by girls. That's another story, another video. But things at home began to deteriorate quite a lot with my mother, to be fair. And by the age of 15, I had to go and live with my father. Things were too bad with my mum. And my father lived total opposite end of the UK to my mother. So yeah, I went to live with my father, who's the complete opposite of a Jehovah's Witness. Complete polar opposite. He couldn't be any more different if you tried. And he gave me the freedom to do anything at all that I wanted. And to be fair to him, when I first moved down, he did say, look, here's the Kingdom Hall in our local town. If you want to go, continue to go. There's no pressure, son, it's your life, you do what you want. I went to one meeting. It was a lovely, lovely congregation. They were very nice to me, love bombed me, which is a term you all like to use. But I don't know, it didn't seem right. But I mean, they were strangers at the end of the day, and it seems weird when strangers love bomb you. It's a bit different when it's people you know or have grown up with, but when a stranger loves bomb you, it's weird. So anyway, cut a long story short, I didn't go back. It wasn't particularly for any other reason other than adapting to life and with a new parent in a new town, in a new school, catching up on exams. Before I knew it, I was 18, 19, and I hadn't given the witnesses a second thought, excuse me. So life was totally different by my early 20s. I was not acting in any way, shape or form as a witness, doing some quite naughty things. And just cracking on with life. But deep down, during all of this, I still held all the witness standards close to my heart. I mean, I didn't live by them. There's many things I fell short on, but I believed what I was taught. And I believed I was wrong, and I had the feelings of guilt and the feelings of, Armageddon comes, you're done for, you're brown bread. But I don't know if I'd say I put them to the back of my mind, because although you do put them to the back of your mind, those feelings do make you feel bad and have a negative effect on you, so they're clearly not in the back of your mind. But I didn't really dwell on them, and I just cracked on with life, and life can be all encompassing to the point that nothing else can matter. And that was the case for most of my 20s. And then as I hit the stage at which a lot of men begin to mature at the late 20s, I don't know, things began to change, and I began to I don't think it started off by wanting to go back to the witnesses or even anything to do with the Bible or God, because it didn't. I just decided that at the end of the day, if life boils down to two teams, the good guys and the bad guys, I wanted to be a good guy. And I used to, from end of the 90s, early noughties, I used to be very, very interested in things like, various conspiracy theories and things like that. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I do find a lot of them very, very interesting, with a lot of rings of truth in a lot of them as well. And I've always appreciated the truth. I don't think I can say lover of the truth, because there's been times in my life where I've been far from a lover of the truth, but especially since I've matured, I've been more of a lover of the truth. So the inevitable happened, and as a few more years of truth-seeking passed, the thoughts of the Jehovah's Witnesses began to come back into my head, and I'd ask my mother questions and her friends questions and old witnesses and no questions. And there was things I didn't understand, but I was nearly ready to go back. I was very, very, very nearly ready to go back. To the point where I asked my mother to arrange a Bible study for me, which nothing came of that, which was funnily enough. I asked an elder I used to know to arrange a study for me. Nothing came of that. I did ask another family member as well, but to be fair, they were too ill to be able to do anything, so that's not really relevant to the conversation. But no, I kept asking for Bible studies, and they weren't happening. Nothing ever came of it, and it seemed ever so weird. So I sat down one day when I was on my own at home and prayed. I said, I'm at the point where I need answers, especially about the Bible and God and Jesus and Jehovah's Witnesses, and I need to know the truth. And how come I'm not getting a Bible study when I'm asking for one? And I'm sure you've all heard this story before, but like magic, the very next day, knock on the door, two Jehovah's Witness sisters. One of the sisters I knew from my childhood, older lady, she was about my mother's age. And of course, you get that light bulb moment where it's like my prayer's answered. And I don't think my prayer was answered. And we spoke on the doorstep for about an hour. I'd say it was more of a catch up and reminiscing than actual preaching. And it was arranged that she'd come back with a brother to conduct a Bible study. So a week passed, she came back with a brother who I vaguely knew. I can't say I knew him in any depth whatsoever. I'd only met him a couple of times. In fact, when he first turned up, I couldn't even remember him. It wasn't a week or two later that my memory sort of stumbled and I remembered who he was. And to cut a long story short, they continued to come for a very long time. And initially, they wanted to jump, straight on the What Does the Bible Really Teach book and go studying through that. Now, I wasn't too happy with that, because I didn't want to study the What Does the Bible Really Teach book. I wanted to study the Bible. So this led to questions that could never be answered there. It was always ask a question today and get an answer in a week. Now, I probably start making myself sound impatient here, but it wasn't satisfying the hunger that I had. So, as a lot of people do in this day and age, I hit the internet, and I'd lurked on what you call apostate websites and channels for many years, to be honest with you, and didn't really side with anybody, didn't sort of side with the witnesses or side with the apostates. Sort of, I don't know, the way I didn't, because I didn't go into it in any depth, I just kind of thought you were trolling one another, which is ignorant of me. But if I'm honest with you, I think the first people on YouTube especially that made me start to question things was probably Brian Garcia and Shizulo. And I remember when Brian Garcia announced that he wasn't going to be a witness anymore, and I felt sad. I felt very sad. I mean, that was when Brian Garcia announced that. That's before I was speaking with these witnesses. But I did feel sad because even though I wasn't a witness myself or anything at that time, I kind of felt for him. It wasn't that I didn't feel sad that he was losing his family or he was going to get shunned or anything like that. This is how twisted my thinking was at the time. Rather than thinking those things for him, which I should have been thinking, I was thinking how sad that the only Jehovah's Witness I've seen on YouTube defending the witnesses isn't a witness. I mean, he used to talk with Shizulo a lot, and I've got to be honest with you. Back then, I wasn't too much for the guy, but I mean, now I love the guy. He's one of my favourite YouTubers. But it's funny how things change. But it made me very, very sad to watch this man leave, and that sparked a lot of questions off. So, with not getting answers from the witnesses, I was getting a lot of answers then from various people online, and it made a lot of difference and a lot of comfort. And after asking many questions, the visits from the witnesses began to go from being every week to every 2 weeks, and it sort of just slowly tailed off to the point where questions weren't getting answered. I was using Watchtower literature to show various errors in doctrine or various discrepancies, and they just refused completely to acknowledge them. And in the end, the visits stopped altogether. The very last time I saw anybody was at the memorial of this year. I didn't go, but on the morning of the memorial, the elder that had been seeing me, completely out of the blue, knocked on to ask if I was going, and said I wasn't, told him why. I've not seen or heard from him since. So I mean, it's a shame really, because all I've ever wanted is discussion, and I'm not sitting here trying to say I've got the answers. I'm no one to preach. I'm not as good as some of these apostates on YouTube, and I'm not as good as some of these witnesses on YouTube, but I'm trying, and I'm getting there, and slowly but surely I am making progress. But I'm not a good enough person to teach anybody about the Bible. But what I am qualified to do is teach you about the deceit of the witnesses, because it's on a whole other level, and it definitely seems to hit born-ins harder than people who've joined. Again, that's a topic for another video. So I mean, I'm at the point now where they don't come around anymore. I do my own study now. I'm well aware now of what the Bible says, and I'm more than happy with what the Bible says. I don't need people to come and tell me what's this, what's that, and what's the other. I don't need to follow man, and I'm quite happy with that. So now you know a bit about who I am. It's nothing special, but there you go. And thanks for listening, and thanks for your time. Really, I'd like to give a big shout out to Shizulo. Thank you. Brian Garcia, Mike and Kim, your videos are absolutely brilliant. Really like your videos. Dali Wali, there's too many to mention really, but keep up the good work. There must be times where you feel like you're pushing a rock up a hill, but trust me, your information does get through. There's other videos and topics I'd like to discuss, but that's just an introduction as to who I am. You can probably tell I'm not used to being in front of the camera, but hey, there you go. Hopefully we'll speak soon, guys. I'm very sorry for how poor quality the videos are. I've done it off my camera phone in my garage. I don't have a webcam or anything like that. I'm not technically gifted. I'm learning how to use a bit of editing software, so maybe in the future it'll get better. You probably don't want to subscribe or anything like that if you're expecting just Jehovah's Witness videos, because that's not what you're going to get from me. You'll probably find more dog related videos than anything. So thanks for your time, and we'll speak again very soon. Take care.